speaking for OCAP. I think that when the province decided to destroy the community startup and maintenance benefit, the intention was to put in place an uneven patchwork of municipal programs that by definition would be less adequate. And it ranges across the province from less adequate to non-existent, of course. But in terms of the Housing Stabilisation Fund, I think when you speak to people who have applied, when you speak to people who advocate, I think it's only fair to say that what appears to exist is a climate of denial. That's certainly how it manifests itself in people's lives. And there are a whole series of things that have begun to emerge tonight that I think are really significant in that regard. First of all, people seek this fund as they sought community startup because they lack the basic items in their homes necessary to have a household. And I think that's an important thing that the city should reconsider in terms of how it awards funding under the Housing Stabilisation Fund. If you're sleeping on a bare floor, if you don't have pots and pans, if you don't have a stick of furniture, then you're not housed in any meaningful social definition of the term. And that's something that I think really needs to be taken strongly into account. I also think that that the point that was made about ODSP needs to be emphasised. It needs to be something that great attention needs to be paid to. When people apply for the Housing Stabilisation Fund on Ontario Works, they are not in good shape, but they have a whole other set of dysfunction and barriers when they apply on ODSP. And as some people have said, in some cases the application never even gets here. It's simply blocked at ODSP, and that's the reality. I also think that there needs to be great attention paid to timely decision making. We see a situation where it's very hard for people to get decisions conveyed to them. The amount of time it takes is extremely uneven and it's often very long. And when decisions are conveyed, if they're negative, it's frequently the case that the reasons for the denial are not set out with sufficient clarity in order to fashion any kind of appeal or challenge. I think that's also enormously important. I think the fact that we are coming here in the context of discussion, decision-making around a cut to the fund is an indication of how far short it is falling in its implementation, how far it's falling short of the need that is out there. Nobody is making this up. We receive dozens and dozens and dozens of calls from desperate people who really need and want this fund and who in practice are being turned away. And I think the city needs to consider the fact that this fund is the most critically placed social provision that you could conceive of. This is something that, as the briefing notes put it, people apply for when they are seeking to obtain or retain housing. In other words, to remove support at that place is a kind of a precision strike that is feeding the problem of homelessness and destitution. So I think this isn't a discussion that can be simply handled in the levels of platitudes. This is a very, very desperate and a crying situation. There must be adequate provision at the municipal level. It should be at the provincial level, but it's not. There must be adequate provision for the Housing Stabilisation Fund, or we are going to see an already severe crisis of homelessness in the city exacerbated in a way that's totally unacceptable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.